The message had crossed the stars. From the frozen mines of Orthes to the desert colonies of Dalen, from the orbiting shipyards to the smallest moon bases, humans everywhere heard it. We are humans. We are awake. No one knew who sent it first, but it didn't matter. The message spread like light through darkness. For the first time in generations, humans began to believe that their voices mattered. Whispers of rebellion on Station 19. Life appeared normal. The overseers watched the humans carefully, and the security drones hovered in the air like silent shadows. But beneath that surface of obedience, something powerful was growing. The humans had learned to communicate in secret. They used maintenance codes, machine updates, and energy reports to hide messages. Every tool, every shift, every small action became part of something greater. Leora Dane, the quiet engineer who had found the ancient human device, had become a leader without ever asking to be one. People trusted her, not because she had power, but because she had faith. She spent her nights planning with her small group, Taryn, Mira, Joran, and a few others. Together they built what they called the Dawnlight Network. Its purpose was simple: to teach every human how to adapt, build, and think like engineers and creators, not servants. Learning the enemy's tools, Leora understood that the Xylar Dominion was strong not because of numbers, but because of control. The Xylar ruled through fear, and fear worked only when people believed they were powerless. So she began teaching humans how to study the machines they worked on. Don't just fix what they tell you, she told her students. Ask why it broke. Ask how it was made. Once you understand how something works, it belongs to you. Soon, across the station, workers who once followed orders now thought like inventors. They created small improvements in the systems, minor efficiency changes, new tools, clever shortcuts. The overseers didn't suspect anything because everything still worked, but behind every repair was a secret human code, a quiet act of preparation. Each day the humans were no longer just workers. They were engineers, programmers, and thinkers. They were becoming something the Xylar feared most: equals. The Xylar's growing fear. In the capital world of the Dominion, Supreme Commander Vryn studied reports with frustration. Power drops in multiple sectors, said one officer. Our machines pause for seconds, then restart. It's not damage, but interference. Who's responsible? Vryn demanded. The officer hesitated. We believe it's humans. Impossible, Vryn said sharply. Humans can't organize beyond their own stations. They have no ships, no weapons, the officer replied quietly. Perhaps they no longer need them, sir. Vryn didn't respond. He simply stared at the star map, where small red lights marked the locations of human colonies. One by one, those lights began to blink, slowly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. The first human fleet back on Station 19, Leora's team had made progress. Using old Xylar cargo ships and damaged drones, they built something new, a fleet of modified transporters that could travel between human worlds. They painted no flags, raised no armies, and carried no weapons. But inside those ships were brilliant engineers and thinkers who could outsmart any system. Joran, once a simple shuttle cleaner, became their main pilot. He smiled nervously as he checked the controls. Hard to believe we're doing this, he said. These ships aren't built for travel. Leora smiled back. They are now. Each ship carried human-designed systems powered by Project Dawnlight, the same energy pulse device she had found. The humans had improved it, making it smaller and more efficient. When the fleet finally launched from the dark side of the gas giant, no one cheered. They simply watched in silence, their hearts heavy with determination. They were not leaving to fight. They were leaving to free. Across the galaxy, the Dawnlight fleet traveled quietly from one colony to another. Wherever they arrived, they helped humans take control of their stations, not by force, but by understanding. On the mining colony of Dalen, they taught the workers how to reroute power grids so the overseers' control systems would fail safely. On the shipyard of Elar, they turned the Xylar's automated drones into cooperative tools that obeyed human programming. And on the communication hub of Vetra, they replaced the central AI with a human-designed system that broadcast messages of unity across the Dominion. Each action was peaceful, but it changed everything. The Xylar began to realize that their strength was no longer enough. Machines that once obeyed them now followed new codes. Codes the humans had written. A galaxy awakens soon. The change spread beyond humanity. Other enslaved species, those who had also suffered under the Dominion, saw what humans had done. The gentle Tethrians from the ocean worlds, the wise Venari from the desert moons, and even some peaceful Xylar citizens who disliked the Dominion's control, all began to support the human movement. Leora was surprised when a Venari scholar contacted her secretly. "I studied your people once," the alien said softly through the communicator. "You learn faster than any race I've known. You adapt. You find hope even in metal cages. Perhaps that is your greatest strength." Leora smiled. "It's not just ours. Anyone can learn it. We just had to remember." The scholar nodded. "The Dominion will not understand this. They control machines but not hearts." The commander's mistake. Supreme Commander Vryn decided he had waited long enough. He gathered a fleet of hundreds of ships and set course for the human-controlled zones. His goal was not destruction but control. He wanted to remind humans who held authority. When his fleet entered orbit around Station 19, he sent a message. "This is the Dominion. You are violating interstellar law. You will surrender control of all systems immediately." Leora received the message calmly. Her people gathered around her in the control room. "What should we do?" Mira asked. Leora thought for a moment, then smiled gently. "We show them who we really are." She activated the Dawn Light systems. The light of dawn, a wave of energy, spread from Station 19 across space. Not destructive, not harmful, but bright. It shimmered like sunlight on water. Every Xylar ship's systems flickered. Engines paused. Weapons deactivated automatically for safety. Communication signals turned into soft static. For a full minute, the great fleet that ruled the stars was completely still. Then, slowly, the lights returned. But when the systems came back, something was different. Each ship's central screen displayed a single message written in human code. "We do not wish for war. We only ask for freedom. Learn, as we did, that power is not control. It is understanding." Vryn read the words in silence. His officers waited for his order to retaliate, but none came. He realized for the first time that his ships, the greatest force in the galaxy, were completely dependent on the very humans he had considered inferior. Every engine, every system, every part of the Dominion's power had been maintained, built and repaired by human hands. Without them, the Dominion could not even function. A new understanding days passed. The Dominion's High Council debated endlessly, but they could not find a solution that didn't risk total collapse. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, humans and their allies began forming a cooperative network. Instead of armies, they built councils. Instead of threats, they shared knowledge. They called it the Coalition of Dawn. Its members were free beings, humans, Tethrians, Venari, and even Xylar citizens who chose peace. They created open schools on planets once filled with factories teaching engineering, science, and diplomacy. No one bowed anymore. No one was ordered to serve. The Dominion had not fallen through war. It had changed through understanding. Leora's reflection, years later. Leora stood again by a viewing window, this time not on Station 19, but aboard a human-built vessel named Hope's Horizon. She watched as the ship sailed past the green gas giant she once worked above. The old station still orbited below, now transformed into a learning center for engineers of all species. Terran stood beside her, smiling. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" "All the time," she said softly. "We used to be afraid of everything, of overseers, of mistakes, of speaking too loudly. But fear is only strong when you believe you have no choice." He nodded. "And now?" "Now we choose every day," she replied. "That's what freedom really means." She looked out into the endless sea of stars. "We didn't turn their armies to ash," she said. "We turned their arrogance into understanding. And that changed everything." A message to the stars before their ship left the system. Leora sent one final transmission across the galaxy. It was a simple message, short and peaceful, just like the one that had started it all. "We are humans. We remember who we are. We do not rise to destroy but to awaken. The stars belong to everyone who dares to dream." The signal traveled far, past planets, across stations and through the spaces between worlds. Somewhere, on a distant colony still under the Dominion's rule, a young human worker heard it through a faint radio whisper. He looked up at the sky, eyes shining. "Someday," he murmured, "we'll join them." And somewhere in the darkness, far beyond sight, another light blinked to life, one more spark in the growing constellation of freedom. Epilogue centuries later. Historians would write about the Dawnlight Revolution. They would say it was the only uprising in history that ended without a single battle. It became a symbol, not of destruction, but of creation. The lesson was simple and eternal. Knowledge is stronger than fear. Unity is greater than control. And hope once awakened can never be enslaved again. The next day on Helios 9 began in chaos. The incident report from Chamber 07 had spread across the entire station. Engineers whispered in the corridors. Guards triple-checked their scanners, and Dr. Minara was furious. "Ethan Ryler," she said sharply, slamming a report pad onto the table in front of him. "You broke every rule we have. You fed the giantess, interfered with containment protocols, and risked a total system failure." Ethan kept his voice calm. "With respect, Doctor, the system failure wasn't caused by me. The containment field was already unstable. She stopped it from collapsing." "She?" Minara echoed with disbelief. "You're referring to the creature as she now?" Ethan nodded. "Her name is Lysara." The room fell silent. One of the guards shifted uneasily, muttering, "He named it." "She told me," Ethan added quietly. "She said her name." Dr. Minara froze. For a moment, the anger in her eyes faded, replaced by surprise. "That's impossible. The containment field blocks all verbal communication." "Maybe it doesn't block everything," Ethan said. "She's intelligent. She understands us." Minara folded her arms, studying him. "Engineer Ryler, you've been on this station for less than a week. You have no idea what that thing is capable of." "I think I do," Ethan replied softly. "She's capable of kindness." The words made everyone in the room uncomfortable. Kindness wasn't something people associated with the caged alien giantess. Minara sighed, rubbing her temples. "You're confined to quarters until further notice. We'll review your access and decide your future here." Ethan didn't argue. He only asked one question before leaving. "Please, don't punish her. She didn't do anything wrong." Minara gave no answer. Hours later, Ethan sat in his small cabin, staring at the walls. The quiet hum of the station filled the air, but his mind was elsewhere. He kept seeing Lysara's eyes, the way they had glowed softly when she said the word stay. She wasn't a monster. He was sure of it now. He needed to prove it. That evening, as lights dimmed across the station for the night cycle, Ethan accessed his maintenance terminal. He still had partial authorization to the engineering systems. It wasn't much, but enough to monitor power flows and life support readings. He noticed something strange. Lysara's containment field was consuming double the normal energy. That meant the system was overworking, or she was doing something inside the cage. Either way, it wasn't stable. He couldn't just sit there. He grabbed his repair tools and quietly made his way through the service tunnels. The corridors were empty, the soft blue light flickering along the walls. When he reached Chambers 07, the doors were locked, but his engineer pass still worked on the maintenance hatch. Inside, the room glowed with the same soft blue shimmer. Lysara was awake. She turned her head as soon as she sensed him. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice echoing faintly through the field. Her pronunciation was clearer now, smoother. Ethan smiled despite his worry. "Hey, you remember my name?" She nodded slowly, her expression calm. He stepped closer to the control panel. "I saw the power readings. Are you all right? The system's pulling too much energy." Lysara tilted her head, then touched her chest. "Safe," she said carefully, as if trying to comfort him. "Safe. Now." Ethan sighed in relief, though his heart still raced. "I was worried they might blame you." She frowned slightly, a gesture of confusion. Ethan pointed to himself, then toward the door. "Others, people, they think you're bad." Her eyes dimmed, sadness flickering across her silver features. She understood that word. Ethan wanted to say something more, but he hesitated. How could he explain the fear and ignorance of humans to someone like her? Then Lysara did something unexpected. She reached out toward the barrier and pressed her palm against it. This time the field didn't spark or hum harshly, it softened. The blue shimmer glowed gently around her hand. Ethan placed his own hand against the same spot. For a brief moment it felt warm, like sunlight through glass. "Friend?" she said. Ethan's eyes widened. "Yes, friend." He didn't know how she had learned the word, but hearing it made his chest tighten with emotion. Maybe she had been listening to the crew all along, learning their language piece by piece. Then suddenly the lights flickered. The floor trembled slightly under his feet. Alarms began to beep on the control panel. "Warning," the computer said. "Power grid instability detected in Sector 3. Containment field fluctuation possible." Ethan frowned. "That's not here, but it's close." Lysara stood up slowly, her head turning toward the upper vents as if she could hear the problem from far away. She pointed upward, then looked back at him. "Break," she said firmly. He nodded. "You mean something's breaking?" She repeated the word. "Break, danger." Before he could respond, the station shook again, harder this time. Ethan stumbled. The lights turned red. It wasn't a violent event, just a mechanical fault, probably a reactor link overload. But if it spread to this sector, it could deactivate her containment field entirely. He tried to open the door, but the safety locks had already engaged. Great, not again. Lysara looked around, sensing his frustration. She crouched down, meeting his eyes. "Help?" she asked. Ethan hesitated. "You want to help?" She nodded firmly. He looked at the control systems. Technically, if he lowered the field strength for a few seconds, she could redirect some of her internal energy to stabilize the grid. But that would mean trusting her completely. He took a deep breath. "All right. Let's do it together." He typed in the override code. The blue shimmer around her dimmed slightly. Lysara raised both hands, her palms glowing faintly with white light. A soft hum filled the chamber as she focused. Ethan watched in awe as the readings on his screen began to stabilize. Power levels evened out. The danger alarm faded. She was fixing it, from inside the cage. When it was done, the hum faded, and the field returned to its normal glow. Ethan looked at the readings, amazed. "You did it. You actually did it." Lysara smiled faintly. "Safe," she said again, this time pointing at him. Ethan laughed softly. "Yeah, safe." The next morning, Dr. Minara stormed into the chamber, followed by a team of scientists. "What happened last night?" "The grid almost failed, then stabilized itself." "How?" Ethan hesitated. "Lysara helped." Minara blinked. "What?" She sensed the failure. "I don't know how, but she used her energy to balance the power flow." "That's impossible," one scientist muttered. "Check the readings," Ethan said confidently. Her energy output increased exactly when the grid recovered. Minara looked at the data and froze. It was true. For a long moment no one spoke. Then Minara exhaled slowly. "You may have just saved this station, Engineer Ryler." Ethan smiled faintly. "We did." He glanced at Lysara. The giantess sat calmly, her silver eyes gentle and bright. Minara watched her carefully. "If this is true, then she's not just intelligent. She's cooperative. She's more than that," Ethan said softly. "She's kind." Minara didn't reply, but her expression changed slightly. The fear in her eyes faded just a little. Days passed. The station slowly returned to normal, though normal felt different now. The crew began to look at Lysara's chamber not with terror but with quiet curiosity. Some of them even stood by the observation glass to watch her meditate or trace patterns on the walls with her glowing fingers. Ethan continued his maintenance work, but he often visited her. Each time their communication improved. She learned new words. He brought her small items, light crystals, data chips, pieces of paper to draw on. She liked drawing stars. "Home," she said one day, pointing at a cluster of stars she had drawn. Ethan smiled. "That's where you came from?" She nodded. "Far light. Gone." Her tone was sad. Ethan realized she must have lost her home somehow. Maybe that was why she had been found drifting near the asteroid belt years ago. Silent and alone. He wished he could help her go back. One evening, as Ethan checked the systems again, Dr. Minara approached him. "The Council has reviewed the new data," she said. "They believe Lysara might be the key to understanding the energy fields of her species. They want to move her to the central labs." Ethan frowned. "You mean, take her away from here?" Minara nodded. "Under controlled observation, of course. It's a big step forward for science, but what about her?" he asked quietly. "Does she want that?" Minara looked uncomfortable. "She's not human, Ryler. We can't—" "She understands us," Ethan interrupted. "You know that." The doctor hesitated. "You've grown attached, haven't you?" "She's my friend," he said simply. "And I don't think she'll leave this place willingly." He was right. When they tried to move her, Lysera refused. She didn't attack or resist violently. She simply stayed seated, her expression calm but firm. The machines couldn't move her containment field without her cooperation, and no one dared to force her. Ethan was called in to talk to her. He approached the barrier, speaking softly. Lysera, they want to study you, to learn more. She looked at him with calm eyes. Go? She asked. He nodded. Yes, to another place. Her expression changed, soft sadness mixed with worry. You come? Ethan swallowed. No, they said I have to stay. Lysera was silent for a long moment. Then she placed her hand on the barrier again, her voice trembling slightly. You stay. I stay. Ethan's throat tightened. You don't have to do that. She shook her head. Friends stay. I stay. The researchers watching from the control room were silent. No one expected that. In the following weeks, the station's leadership changed their plan. Instead of moving Lysera, they built a communication and study zone around her, allowing her to